Well, hello peeps, we are continuing the series where I show you how to get your elite transmog by reaching 1800 in the Soul Shuffle. I will be walking you through all the necessary steps and some unnecessary ones to accomplish this goal. First we are going to do the Red Paladin this season. Now I know I did a poll at the beginning and Enchants and DH got voted first, but I didn't get to make one of these last season for the Retribution, and if you watch some of my new videos on the DH and Enhanced and also watch the older videos, you will have the information there. It's just in multiple videos. Let's talk about why you would want to play a Red Paladin. It's definitely one of the most damaging classes right now, especially during its burst window. Great team utility, really one of the classes where your spells can impact your teammates. Just a smooth spec to play, clean rotation and easy to use cooldowns. So first things first, you want to start grinding out your honor gear. If you have gold, buy the crafted PvP items. It's time to pop the cherry and hit the BGs. If you were lucky enough to pick up a few war chests while leveling or otherwise, pick up some war PvP items. You should do the weekly PvP quests for honor, conquest, trophies of strife to try and get a few epic PvP pieces as soon as possible. Depending on the week, these can be annoying to finish and certain zones are not as quick for world PvP, and certain quests like proving teamwork, which is rated BGs, you probably won't be able to get into without gear. Generally speaking, you will be able to finish one PvP quest, and the world PvP quest might take you more time than in other weeks. Ultimately, you want to do as much as you can to acquire trophies of strife and conquest for max item level PvP items. You also want to use conquest on main pieces and trophies of strife on off pieces, since you will be turning the main pieces into the tier set and you want the max PvP item level on those. Now let's talk about stat priority. Versa, Mastery, Haste, Crit. Mastery is the main thing you're going for, and haste you can get where you can get mastery. As far as DPS is concerned, they're both good. Just to maximize your burst, you want as much as mastery as you can get. As far as crafted items are considered, you want to try and craft one as soon as possible. On red, Infurious boots are still quite good. They give you the right stats and the proc is decent. I see that most people go for either the chest or a cloak as their second crafted item. It's not a huge worry since in those you can get the correct stats anyways. I personally went for the chest since you get a free chest embellishment, but you would need to buy one for the cloak with conquest. As far as enchants are considered, you should have a list in the description of what I used. Do keep in mind that if you're short on gold, still try to get the lower quality enchants since they are still quite effective. You can look at enchants as items that go on top of items. Now if you played last season, one little note, you won't be starting out from 0 like you did last season, but from around 200 to 400 MMR less than what was your rating before. So do try to have some epic gear before queuing up. I recommend having the 2 sets since it's quite important to the build. If let's say you were around 2.2k rating, you will probably have around 1800 MMR, meaning you will be matching with people who are fully geared, 4 set and all. Usually I would tell you to just have the honor gear and plus a crafted item and enchants before you go into the Soul Shuffle, and that remains true for those who are just starting. But for those who have played last season, do try to get the 2 set as well. But before we get into the talents, I do have to inform you that only 4.3% of you are subscribed, so if you have been enjoying the content, do consider smashing that subscribe button. As far as talent builds are considered, there is mainly one I see being used, with people having different talent choices here and there, but certain talents are core, like most Hammer of Wrath talents. I personally do enjoy this change facilitated by the tier set, where you're actually doing a majority of your damage from range. Of course, you're a melee class, so still you should stick in melee when you can. Now for talents, honestly there's not many things that you can kind of move around to make a significant impact. Things like Troops Wake you can remove and put here, you can then, you know, move this around, put it somewhere else. This point is also, I would say, movable, but the rest I would say are quite core. Maybe Judge and Jury also is a point that you can kind of move around depending on what you want. Maybe like this build to just go full into your burst. But in generally speaking, something like this will take you all the way, and I think this is the build that I used for a majority of my games. On the Paladin side as well, there's just not that much of things that you can move around to make like a significant difference. There's very small optimizations. You could remove the point from Cavalier here, put it somewhere else. Same with one of the auras, you can remove and put somewhere else. Seal of Alacrity, if you're like playing versus a melee team, or sorry, a team that has a lot of armor damage, physical damage, you can just go for Fate's Armor. So like there's these like micro optimizations, but they're not gonna impact your gameplay style that much, I feel like. So I just felt like running something that's like cookie cutter for me was pretty good. As far as PvP talents, this is where your optimizations really will happen. things like Aura of Reckoning. First of all, let's cover the, how do you say, the damaging talents. Aura of Reckoning, Lawbringer, and Luminescence. Aura of Reckoning is your most damaging PvP talent. It's also, how would I say, Lawbringer and Luminescence at this point are just so nerfed. I would also not ever switch Aura of Reckoning unless you're playing versus like Warlocks, Affliction Warlocks and Shadow Priests, things like that that don't actually crit much. So basically Aura of Reckoning you'll almost always have unless you want to have more of a defensive build. Blessing of Sanctuary as well almost always is just worth the point. There's never like a situation, unless you're not using Blessing of Sanctuary, you're finding yourself that you're not casting this a lot. You could like remove it, but you should get used to using this ability, and this ability, it's like I feel like this is the point that you almost never change in your build. And for your last point, you have like a lot of, like, honestly all talents are good. Even like something like Hallowed Ground, you can how do you say, put in some games. Most of the time things like Blessing of Spell Warding to me I think is the best. Searing Glare is good if you're the one who's not getting focused. It's kind of, for me, I guess, I find it like hard to use just because a lot of the times you will get focused, and in those situations, if it's like a double melee, it's very hard to get off this cast. It's just not a quick enough cast for it to not get kicked, and you have to bait it a lot. I just feel like it's just not worth the point at that point. It's more of a talent that you're gonna use to save your teammates. But other than that, there is like Blessing of Spell Warding almost always. When it's like a double mage comp or whatever, just take a Blessing of Spell Warding. Spreading the Word, also pretty good, I would say. I very rarely used this, only like into like a heavy cleave comp, but I think it's still good. Judgments of the Pure versus certain like teams, it's pretty good, I'd say, to remove constant poison, constant disease, and constant magic effects. So like Shamans, you can remove their flame shock and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good talent to keep in mind for certain comps. And then of course you can just put in one of these DPS talents if you're not, if you want to just go for double DPS PvP talent. I would not go for triple DPS PvP talent just because you always want to have Blessing of Sanctuary. Now we come to the most important part in my opinion, which is training yourself for PvP. The basic being your sustain and burst rotations. The way you want to train these is of course by going to my best friend, the target dummy, and doing your rotation. This might sound silly, but it's the most important thing to make your damage come out without thinking about it, and actually let you focus on the match. You will confirm your level of training by going into BGs and trying to pull off what you have practiced. If you're having trouble with this, then you know that you have to put in more time with the training dummy. We'll start off with the base priority of your sustained rotation. Spend Holy Power, Hammer of Wrath, Blade of Justice, Judgment. Of course, spending Holy Power on Temple's Verdict if you're doing damage, or Word of Glory for some heals. Quite simple and fluid little rotation. The mini burst rotation is also not that hard. Divine Toll, Final Reckoning into Templar's Verdict, Wake of Ashes, Templar's Verdict into your sustained rotation. This is your in-between burst that you will do when your main burst is on cooldown 1 minute in. Don't forget to try to use this window as soon as it pops, so it lines up with your big cooldown again. One thing to note is that you can add a Templar's Verdict between Divine Toll and Final Reckoning, but it's better practice for your full burst rotation to do it as shown. Now we come to the full burst with Crusade. You first want to set up the stacks, pop Crusade after you've built up some Holy Power, spend and build till you got 10 stacks. Then you're ready to do your mini burst rotation into your sustained rotation. It takes a little bit of time to get used to preparing your bursts like this, but once you get it, you actually have a little bit more control than usual. Since people can't really just CC you the moment they see wings, they actually have to react to you bursting. Now we come to the tips and tricks section. First and most important tip is to use your utility. This is what makes a red paladin in PvP, if you ask me. Blessing of Sanctuary is actually one of the most powerful PvP abilities. It can remove undispellable CC, and you're basically only DPS that gets to get others from CC. Make sure you're using Blessing of Freedom on somebody if you can, to have it on 2 targets. As a DH main, to me this felt quite refreshing, that I'm able to impact my teammates a lot more frequently and help them out other than having just a 5-minute CD. Learn when to use what defensive Paladins are one of those weird classes with quite a few different defensive options, some of which can be used on your teammates, like Blessing of Protection and Lay on Hands. It'll take some time and experience to figure out which situation is best met with which CD, but there is a few general guidelines. You want to use your Shield of Vengeance and Lay on Hands relatively early in the round. In the Soul Shuffle, dampening ramps up quite fast, and by minute 2 these two abilities are almost useless. Don't spend your Blessing of Protection or Spell Warden unless you really have to. This goes both ways, both on you or an ally. Make sure if you're using it on an ally that they are out of personal cooldowns, so you're not wasting a CD that you might need for yourself later, and vice versa. This will take some experience, unfortunately, since there is just so many different class combinations that might need different cooldowns used. Things like Shadow Priests are quite deadly to Paladins, and since they can also remove your bubble, you have to use your defensives aggressively into them, while versus other classes you can bait your cooldowns. Also, dampening is a huge deal to you. Flash of Light and other healing globals are actually useful early in the round, but later in the round you're almost always better off pressing an offensive global or one of your immunities. Try to line up your burst with your or teammate CC. With Crusade build, I would say that it takes some finesse now, but it's all about getting to 10 stacks as soon as possible. Since Paladins don't have a Mortal Strike effect, you are not guaranteed to have pressure, so it's good practice to get used to using your burst combined with CC. Learning which classes you kill and which can tank you. Healers like Druids and Preservation Evokers you can swap on solo easily and burst them down, unless they have one of their immunity style abilities or trinkets. Other healers like Disco Priests are quite good at countering your burst on the go. Ladder classes in general you can pop in a stun quite easily. Of course this will take some experience, but it's easy thing to note which classes you're feeling like you're murdering and which classes are murdering. Now for the Soul Shuffle gameplay analysis, we're just gonna do it like usual, look at the good, the bad and the ugly. Mostly the ugly here, unfortunately. Some of the games that I did good gameplay wise, I just didn't do good round wise, and this of course had to do with the fact that I just started at 2k MMR and I was just getting my ass handed to me with no gear, and I was just full blue gear versus like people who are fully double and fully optimized, right? So unfortunately we have I guess an inferior game than usual, but I think looking at mistakes is still good, right? So here we're just gonna opening and we're gonna be pumping the elemental, so Shaman is just a good target. This Shaman also is gonna play pretty target dummy, I would say, which also kind of enables us to play very aggressive, I guess, into him. I would say maybe Hunter dies easier even, but when the Shaman is giving us kind of an easier time, you know, why not go for the Shaman? At this point we've not been forced to do any kind of like cooldowns or anything. We also haven't really forced any cooldowns from the enemy. Here I tried to get my honestly, I'm not sure why he got out of the freezing trap there, because I'm pretty sure Blessing of Sanctuary does not remove freezing trap. I was like trying to remove like the stun so he would not get trapped or not have a confirmed trap, but somehow the trap got removed. We're doing a good little burst. We finally were able to get cooldowns. We do a very nice swap, me and the Shaman. The Shaman is just insane, the burst still from Ascendance. And when it procs, how would you say, you know, it just deals a lot of damage. Here I honestly don't know what that was about. I was some confusion. Pop my defenses here because I'm just getting bursted a lot. The enemy has this time the illegal blue composition. At one point you're gonna see something very illegal happen. Here just pumping again the elemental. It's just the better target, the easier target. It's the range, so we can also cleave into enhance, so it's just generally better to focus the range. Here I go for CC. I still have some of my Vinks up so I can do some burst combos, go into the blind. Really just an attempt to blow some cooldowns, get some cooldowns out. Here I do a swap because I see that BM is pumping enhance, but I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure why BM is doing any kind of swaps here. BM should be honestly just pumping back on the elemental. Here I guess I saw that the Shaman dispelled or something, so I just get a stun through. This is one of the ways you can get the stun on the DPS, is by just paying attention to the dispel if it goes out or whatever. So I'm assuming, because the Shaman didn't dispel it. Okay, here is the legal moment, I believe. Yeah, I do Blessing of Protection, and it stays versus 3 Shamans. Somehow, it just stays on me. Like, I guess the enhancement purged me, but neither the Resto or the Elemental wanted to purge me. So that was the very illegal moment there. I kicked the Hex, which is very good. Just again pumping the Elemental. He's giving us the PV situation, so it's also kind of perfect for us, and we have kind of a same healer into the same healer, so that there's no like advantage to them doing this, right? Within this kind of exchange. Here just hiding because my cooldowns are coming up, but I was also gonna push back and lower HP. Keep my cooldowns are coming. I stunned because I guess again I saw that the dispel was off, or maybe this Shaman is just not dispelling the stun. Oof, I get some nasty crits, and I think here we're able to... Do we actually kill the Shaman? No? He's surviving quite a bit. Damn. Actually, damn. Here we do a little blind action. Again, stun the Shaman just because I actually saw that there was CC going on the healer already. Okay, here probably gonna be going for the Hunter. And this is something I really like now with Ret, like in previous expansions, honestly. Because I played a little bit of Retribution in Shadowlands and a little bit of Retribution in BFA. It felt really hard playing versus like ranged classes, right? Specs, especially ones that are really gifted with running away. Here I do a really good CC on the healer, but I don't know why the Hex goes through onto the BM. It should have went onto the either the healer or the enhancement. But what I was saying is like it feels so good to play into actually ranged classes now with kind of this Hammer of Rat focused build. And I don't know, this feels something that's really good about Paladin, I guess, right now. Here I'm gonna bubble right away because I see the Ascendance is just gonna kill me. Also, Turtle was used, so we got kind of a, how you say, an advantage already at that point in defensives. Again, just gonna keep pressuring VM. It's my better target. It's the better target. I also, a good kind of technique that I've been starting to do is kind of delaying Shield of Vengeance and Divine Protection. Maybe to get him here, but the reason to delay them was mainly because how do you say, you want to use Shield of Vengeance like right away, so you have it like as soon as possible again, so you have like 2 usages that are actually efficient in the game, right? Because if you use it like later in the round and then you get the second one in like 2 minutes something, they're really like, yeah, you want to have like 2 of them popped by like minute 30, let's say. And it's also, I feel like, the worst defensive overall, right? 20% damage reduction is just gonna absorb a lot more damage with your healing backing you up. And it also kind of deals damage, so you can kind of do it, you know, kind of do it in your burst rotation as a part of your burst. Again, just pumping the elemental if we can. Here bubbled again. As soon as I saw that he got a proc of Ascendance, and was just like bursting my ass. It's just, you know, nothing to like think about there. You just pop your defenses, right? We do swapping on damage on enhance, but we should not be letting on this elemental free cast. It's very much a mistake to do so. So here I just run away because I'm just getting pounded and I have no defenses up. I literally have no defenses. Like right now I could just drop that, so I do the better option of not dropping that and just running away. Here we should be looking for a swap on the elemental, I think, but we can go enhance. Enhance used up his cooldowns, so defensive cooldowns, so we can still go. I do choose to go for the elemental, which I just think is just better. We get to cleave, And I think the Elemental overall is the worst player of the two, so we have a better chance, I think, killing the Elemental. And Elemental has like less consistent healing, like on the fly, right? Enhance can actually heal, like on the fly, and Elemental doesn't really get to do that. Here again, kiting it just a little bit because I'm usually getting pounded by damage. And here we're gonna actually have an unfortunate thing happen. For some reason my healer is gonna just hold the trinket, and yeah, I just get kind of sentence proc on my ass and I drop that. The healer had like the trinket and everything there, just kind of held the trinket for the hex and then got hit by capacitor totem, so kind of a, like I don't know, a fumble I think by the healer, but I could have also, like, I guess been positioning a little bit better because I was quite like without defensives. So it's like one of those like what if situations. Here we're going Elemental. Actually no, we're going for the Hunter. Or we should be going for the Hunter. Oh no, we're going for Elemental, and I would say actually Hunter is a little bit easier to... We do force some nice damage right away there, okay, yeah. But like the Hunter we've swapped onto quite easily. I feel like going for Elemental only is not as optimal now that I think about it. You're just chasing them around the pillar. I go for a little blind. I was trying to get them both in a blind so I could, you know, we could do some nice damage. Unfortunately, I only got the healer there. Swapping back to Ellie here. Yeah, this Elemental did not... Yeah, bro, like one... I would just say fake cast would be like necessary, I think, as a range, as a caster player. Did we just get really nice damage? Think we're gonna get him here? No. Get a stun off. Actually, no, we don't. It's gonna, yeah, Link was gonna come in. We almost did because of the CC and the healer. You're just pumping here, pumping. Honestly, I've been kind of misusing my CC this game, but it's fine, I guess. Here, you just do a stun just to get some pressure off, because we're in like kind of a pickle. Here we're both like, yeah, we're both very low. Honestly, that was just incredible. That was like so close, such a close round. Like, congrats to the healer there for keeping us up. Yeah, honestly, no other comment. Like, congrats for the healer for kind of keeping us there up, both because we're both like extremely low. Here we have the kind of easier, I think, situation going for the Hunter simply. I honestly think that going Hunter, you do more damage to a Hunter than like an Elemental Shaman. Or in general, I feel like a Hunter is a squishier class, so I'm kind of happier to be focusing the Hunter. Go for a stun before I pop my big damage. And as you can see, I force some... Well, I almost force some nice cooldowns, but... Well, actually, I do force, yeah. I do force Turtle, exactly. So that's what I was like saying before about like having some finesse with your burst now. You can actually like get your burst going and then like stun and pop it out, so and you can do so much burst. And also like I think it's Divine Arbiter, the thing that gives you like the passive when it stacks up, it does Holy Strike damage. It also like needs time to stack up, so I feel like you're finally getting your full burst in this kind of like build. Sorry for that message there. Going just for the Hunter hard, like we used all his cooldowns, and there's no point for me to like do any kind of swapping onto the Shaman here, onto the hands. I remember now that I was getting really annoyed here by the Elemental Shaman not wanting to push in. And just not like, he was just sitting at, you see like, these kinds of ranges, sorry there was kind of a burp there, these kinds of ranges not wanting to push in, so every time like they go behind the pillar, it's like just me doing damage. Here I do a swap back onto the healer. Sorry, healer. Hunter. Pop bubble so I can just play aggressive as a motherfucker. I think we're gonna get him here. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. We're gonna have probably Enhance or DH next. We're gonna rework one of the guides for them, or we're gonna do a new spec. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things that YouTubers want you to do, and have a nice day.